Hey everyone, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam. And in today's video, I want to unpack three of the most off-putting and demotivating promises of the spiritual path. Things that, from the perspective of ego, when we are not yet touching self-realization, sound like things that we shouldn't really want. They sound like outcomes that are actually rather undesirable. And I'm going to name them out up front in case you are in some kind of hurry. So one of them is this idea that you're going to feel pain more directly, but you're going to not really mind. That sounds very suspicious and not rather wantable when you're in psychological pain. The second one is that there can be enlightenment, but you won't be there to enjoy it. In which case you would ask the question, well, why the hell should I bother with any of this? And the third one is this notion that when you practice spirituality properly, you need to essentially cut down on your desires, and that when you do become awakened, you won't really feel desire. Right? Desire will subside as an operative mechanism in your mind. Now, before I launch into unpacking some of these things and how to put them into a context that will not demotivate us from going further and making the effort into self-cultivation, I want to welcome all the newcomers, all the people who have been viewing my last couple of videos. The one about a funny but extremely direct pointer to awakening, in which I mention how losing attention and regaining it points towards something a little bit deeper. And the other one about El Gapo, the big gap that we sometimes need to face when we face existential fears, have gotten quite a few views and quite a few new subscribers. So I want to welcome everyone to the channel and thank you for all the comments and support, and hopefully I'll keep putting content out there that you think is worth following. So let's dive into it. So what to make of these things, right? What to make of this idea that when we awaken, we'll still feel discomfort and psychological or potential pain, but we won't really mind, right? Like anxiety will be there, but you won't mind. Heartbreak will be there, but you won't mind. To my ego mind, that sounded like the shittiest sales pitch I've ever heard. And I could not help but ask, but so what's in it for me then? What's in it for me if I'll still feel all those things that I'm really desperately trying to get rid of? And the short answer to this is that in trying to get rid of these emotions, we create a friction that makes them both more painful, but also more sustained and sticky. And it is not until we learn to fully feel things that we come to notice that the energy of what we normally call a bad emotion or an undesired feeling is actually full of life. It is actually very intimate. It puts us in closer contact with our very own selves as opposed to invalidating ourselves. And that strangely enough, when we do all these things and when we feel things directly and with no resistance, then emotions and feelings are sort of given safe passage to go through us, rather than to get stuck in our mind, in our body, in ways that create tremendous amount of pain, and which also over time create a lot of unhealthy situations, both in our relationships, but also in our own body. So the efforts and the contractions that we create to hold emotions off will start to create a psychosomatic illness of the worst possible kind over time. And that is the price that we pay for our repressive mechanisms, right? So It is, yes, a more open and direct way of living. It is not necessarily more pleasant, but every single thing about it feels more wholesome, and you do acclimatize to this new reality. I was speaking to someone in a session last week, and she shared with me that with all the work she'd been doing, she feels everything so much more directly, that the reality feels sort of shrill. And she said, I know that I know that the room is not cold, but I can feel it as if it was cold because it's too direct. And for those of you who have been, in fact, been watching the channel for a bit longer than last week, you'd know that I quote The Matrix a lot. And there's this scene in which Neo has been pulled out of the Matrix, and his eyes hurt, and then he asks Morpheus, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And then Morpheus's response is, "You've never used them before." And he has this look in his eye, as in like, I know that reality hurts for you, right? He sympathizes with that pain. And so this will be the case for a while. Reality, or direct perception of reality, will feel shrill and painful for a while, because your spiritual eyes have just opened and you've never used them before, or rather, you have not used them for a very, very long time, ever since repression started to kick in. Secondly, we have this notion that we won't be there to enjoy enlightenment when it happens. I mean, if there ever was a shitty way to discourage someone, that would be it for me. I'm like, I really want this. I really want to enjoy it. And like, what the hell? Once again, the question pops up: what's in it for me? And it takes a while to understand that number one, the me who is asking that question is completely fictitious, but also that the me that is asking that question is precisely the mental mechanism that is preventing us from touching reality in a way that is so peaceful, majestic, and holy, for the lack of a better word. I don't want to, it's difficult not to use religious terminology when describing just how majestic a reality we touch when the selfing mechanism gets out of the way. It is absolutely staggering and beyond any verbal description that could convey it. And if you haven't touched on that, well, then I guess you just kind of have to take my word for it, or read into spiritual literature that tries its best to describe it for you, or even better, read into spiritual literature of the kind that Hafiz and Rumi, poets that were just going all out and using indeed poetic language to bypass the thinking mind and really be evocative of what is in offer, or what is on offer rather, when the non-dual space and the no-self space is touched. So in that sense, there is a degree of faith to be exercised, to believe that no self is better than self, even if no one is there. If that's too much of an ask in terms of faith, or you find the term distasteful because perhaps you are atheistic, or want to keep things rational, then I would say, if you read different strands of spiritual literature, and also the hymns of praise of people like Hafiz, then you cannot help but start to suspect that there is a there that is worth pursuing. And if all that fails, then I would, with all cautions considered, recommend trying a little bit of psychedelics, and let that show you that there is a there, and that'll clarify matters in a way that might otherwise be too much to ask for the rational mind. So that's my take on that second off-putting promise of the spiritual path. And last but not least, we have this notion on, never mind that the pain will still be there, never mind that there won't be anybody there to feel it. Uh, but then on top of everything else, you have to contend with this idea that when you get to the non-dual space, when you actually get there, and the way to get there, desire will be gone, and therefore hope along with it, because as painful as it is to desire for things, the exercise of desire keeps us chasing a carrot that holds the promise that our life at some point will fundamentally change in a way that makes us happy and fulfilled. And so not desiring is like, well, then the juiciness of the whole thing is gone, right? Like, that's how I extract juice out of life. I desire a lot, and every now and then life throws me a little breadcrumb that slips off its table, and I just munch on it, and I go, wow, this was really worth it. And then I start to chase desire again, and that little cycle of desire and fear and the rest of it. And to that, I would say that that juiciness that we want, the real actual delivery of the full-on fulfillment and joy that we're after, doesn't come from desire and reward. First of all, because we really can't get everything we desire. It's a bottomless pit. Reward comes seldom, and in case you haven't noticed, rewards juice, or rewards reward, if you will, for lack of a better expression, doesn't seem to last that long or satisfy that much. We are very quickly looking for the very next thing. So we must come to terms with the notion that mechanic is broken. And to the mind, to the egoic acquisitive mind, that seems like hopelessness, and on a certain level it is. But that's also because the taste of desirelessness has not been felt, and the profoundness of the peace that comes with that is, in biblical terms, the peace that passeth understanding. You could not even begin to imagine what true stillness of mind is like. It is truly, truly beyond understanding. It's beyond anything describable again, and it is sublime, absolutely sublime. For those of us who have been lucky enough to touch it, once you have touched the non-dual space, once you have touched the no self, true stillness of mind and desirelessness, if you touch that, your entire mind will reorient itself away from the cheap junk food of mental junk food of desire and self, and towards something else that is so many orders of magnitude better that it dwarfs whatever pedestrian human attempts we've been making at chasing things and being somebody. That's the best way I can put it. Once again, you don't need to take my word for it, but if those spaces haven't been touched, then there has to be some kind of way in which you either put your trust in the volumes that have been written about this by people who were pouring their hearts out at having found it and trying to convey it by hook or by crook, or as I said, try the psychedelics route, for example, or simply take the leap of faith and go, well, you know what? I guess if people say that there's something there, well, there's no harm in trying. That might not get you very far, because self and desires are extremely strong, and you always will be wondering what's in it for me. But we have to all start somewhere, and it's difficult to. it's almost unfair how epic the result can be, and how off-putting the aspects of it sound to the ego, and also how difficult it is to imagine what it's like to be at the top of the mountain. It's really unfair in that sense, I must say. And it puts our resolve and our sincerity to the test. And that is, in fact, the test. Do you have the resultant sincerity to see through your false selfing and your toxic desiring? Or do you need to suffer a little bit more, perhaps? That might be the fourth route to get around all this, right? So I wanted to share that because these are doubts and, sort of thoughts that were bothersome for me for quite a while. I'm like, well, if that's the case, then screw this, right? Then I'll just try to get mine while I can, and max out on dopamine hits and relationships and acquisitiveness, because if what's on offer is not there to be enjoyed by me, and it's still painful as hell, and I don't get anything that I want, and I don't even get to want it to begin with, then screw this whole thing, right? And that would be a very natural reaction. It's also a very poor informed reaction, but it is we can only ever really make decisions and judgments from wherever we experientially sit, right? So I thought I would share that because if you've been doing this work for a while, then you would have been given glimpses of what's really up. And I think it is very nice to be able to share that, and to share that indeed there is a there that is worth pursuing assiduously and with all our energy in our heart. So I'm very curious what you guys make of that one, and do share it in the comment section. As always, if you think that these topics might benefit others and you want to participate in the discussion and make others aware of it, then your liking, sharing, and subscribing is always welcome in this channel. Thanks for all of you who have subscribed as of late and given me a little vote of confidence that for some reason I'm worth listening to. I hope to keep that up out there, and I'll be back with more videos pretty soon. I wish you a good one, and thanks for watching so far. Cheerio. Bye-bye.